to do overhand knots. It is absolutely not necessary. These are just as secure.
Okay.
And if you have to make a threading or denting correction,
Easier to undo it.
all you do is pull the end of it. You don't have to
Okay.
fuss with knots.
Yeah, interesting.
And you only lose about this much extra warp. I am willing to sacrifice that amount of extra warp. So I'm using an unusually thick cord. You can use a braided nylon cord or something. The important thing is it should be relatively smooth, and it should not have any stretch in this direction. And the mop cord seems to be just what we need here. Your knots are not real tight.
No.
And so what I'm going to, now I gotta figure out how to open the shed. Okay. No, I'm not. I'm gonna, excuse me. I'm gonna tie these in groups of 1 inch across again, so. And see, my tendency is, I'm making my slip knots go all the way down here, because I don't like to waste warp. But we have fringe, so it doesn't matter. And we have extra warp, so it doesn't matter. But that needs to be a tight knot. I'm not going to go through this loop. I'm going to go through about that loop.
Okay.
So I'm going to just eyeball this into 1 inch groups and tie 1 inch groups. And the slip knot is,
Okay.
make a loop. I put my finger in, I turn my finger down, I pull a loop through. It is really hard for me to remember what I actually do, because I just do it. Yeah, so that's about an inch. And they do not have to be, the knots don't have to be at the same level.
At the what?
At the same, because I warp from back to front, some of my warps end up longer than others. On my warping board, which is a homemade one with smaller dowels, the tension at the start of a warp is not always the same as at the end of it. And let's see. So usually I'm doing this in groups of about an inch. I actually have taught this to a weaver who has woven longer than I have, and she lashed her warps on, but she always used overhand knots, which is what they tell you to do. So I figured out some stuff all on my own. And I have not patented it, so you may do it also. Okay, so I try to position the knots approximately halfway between, because it's well tensioned still on the back, I don't have to worry about having to tighten it up on the back. When I'm starting a warp, sometimes there'll be a lot of give, because when I'm warping a loom, I'm going back and forth and I'm really yanking on it as I'm beaming it, and I beam it first. So I'm gonna just split each group approximately, and I think I want this just a little bit farther forward. How do I do that? I really am not there. I'm not good at loom mechanics. So I'm gonna run it through there, around the front rod, run it through. I had been weaving for quite a while before I learned this. And it was, I am never going to tie on another.
So every time you go through a bundle, you take it back to the,
Yeah,
okay.
and I'll probably need some bit more cord because I'm using quite a bit of it. Yeah. Okay, if you run out of cord, then you can stay. you can actually just tie on another one. But to tension them, you have two options. One is to actually, it's tensioned evenly. That's all it takes.
Right.
And so I can probably tie on another loop here.
I have no idea. My memory. Keep your little
memory.
Gone to crap.
I think this cord's gonna work pretty well. This is the diameter of what I use at home, which is unusual for any. You will not, I do not have any YouTube videos. I don't have the capability
Oh, would you like us to make one for you?
of, with my hands looking like, no, ma'am. Okay, let's try some more, thank you. It's nice of Susan to let us loose in the workshop, in the supply room back here. I'm sure she doesn't mind a bit. Okay, I tie it on with whatever knot I happen to come up with. I don't know what that knot is. So much faster. And it's actually, it gives you better tension. And you don't have to untie knots, grab back and retension.
Sometimes I work the petals, and that helps even them.
Yeah, I used to do this with an open shed, but what happens sometimes is it starts to twist around.
Yeah.
And so by doing it on a closed shed, it works just as well, and it doesn't twist. And, okay.
So as long as they're tensioned, that's the important piece. It doesn't have to be that everything is even.
And it doesn't have to be maximum tension, because what we can do at this point, which I just learned recently from a friend, is lean on it. What that does, the cord automatically adjusts. Especially at the start of a warp, that tightens it up on the back beam, so you're getting good tension all the way from the back beam to the front. And so, but I can also always go back and tug on the individual warps to make it work. I usually tie a half knot, and then once I'm happy with the tension, I will put a half hitch in that. This one's a little exciting. Oh, because my knot gauge.
You do the same thing on the back?
No, I don't tie on the back because I work.
Oh, yeah, that's right,
back
you were
to
saying
front.
you.
You said just use your loops
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Yes, got it.
But for those of us who warp front to back,